All right. And let me make sure that we're recording so we can share this with the lovely folks afterwards who maybe weren't able to join us. I am so glad that everyone is here, though. This is so exciting. Hello and welcome to At Home and Health. Each week, we aim to uplift and support wellness professionals working from home during quarantine by providing interactive conversations with experts on today's timely topics. I am Amanda LaPlante. I am the host of Get Real to Heal on KWRH 92.9 FM and a certified integrative nutrition health coach. Woo! Spit that out. We've got some marbles in the mouth today, but it's going to be all right. Excited. All right. As a reminder, a little conversational etiquette for the next half hour. We want this to be an interactive experience, and we love your questions and comments. So please, please pop those into the chat box, and we'll be sure to respond ASAP. You can also opt to raise your hand if you'd like to converse, but just remember, you'll be on screen and you will be being recorded. So be ready for that. But we're so glad you're here, and today's topic is diet culture during COVID-19. You know, it's a really important topic. It's been coming up a lot with my clients lately, and I'm so excited to have two amazing experts here to talk about this. Before we get started with our conversation with the experts, just a quick shout out to the sponsors and organizers of this series, Casey Limmer and Kate Burris of Gateway Wellness Associates, and Jessica Torrey of Acadia Healthcare. Ladies, I'd love to know what you're hoping to learn from today's conversation. Jessica, you're muted.
I saw Shannon host a Facebook Live on this topic, and it really hit home. So I really just wanted to share the message. I think there's a lot of diet talk, exercise videos, things like that are just all over and can show up in different ways for people. So I thought it was really powerful and want to be able to share it with other people. So I'm excited to hear Reshaunda's viewpoint as well. So thanks for joining.
Oh, you're welcome. Yes. I'm excited to hear what Shannon has, what her topic has been centered around. So it'll be good for all of us.
Absolutely. And I'm going to jump in and give a quick intro for, so Shannon Buescher, and am I saying your name correctly?
It's Buescher.
Buescher.
It's slaughtered all the time. So
that's okay. I'm LaPlante, which is probably supposed to be LaPlante. And so right. To ask, I thought I saw the U and the E and the S and the CH, and I was like, ooh, that's probably a fancy.
It's not as fancy as this.
I like it. All right. So Shannon Buescher is a registered and licensed dietitian nutritionist. As a former high school and collegiate athlete, she first started her dietetic career focused on female athletes and sports performance. As she worked with this population more, she saw that many of these women were struggling with eating disorders. And Shannon continued with female athletes, but decided to emphasize her work with the eating disorder clients. And in 2016, she became an intuitive eating counselor. Shannon is passionate about helping those that have struggled with constant dieting, weight cycling, and yo-yo dieting to rediscover trust with themselves again and find a healthy relationship with food. Welcome.
Thank you.
And Reshaunda Thornton is a registered dietitian who specializes in wellness. She is the owner of a nutrition consultation company called Better Vessel Nutrition, appears as the nutrition expert on Fox 2 News, St. Louis, where she's held over 75, probably many more than that now, Reshaunda. I've got to update your bio. This is from when you were on my show a few months ago.
Yeah.
She's been on many nutrition segments there as a wonderful expert and featured. And she's also an author of Play to Win, Your Fight with Food. Featured as, she's also had some TED Talks, and she's creating a self-care evolution where she shifts the mindset of healthy eating and sustainable lifestyle practices. Her mix of passion and expertise has allowed her to change many lives in an impactful way, and I'm so excited for both of you to be here and jump in on this conversation today. Welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, all right, we're in a new normal, if we can call it normal. It's become normal, but it feels very far from it, right? And, you know, with the inability to get out to the store the way that we used to, and the way that things have changed with family dynamics at home and all of these other things, food is definitely it's kind of filling a different space for a lot of people than it used to. And I know, Shannon, you have a lot to say about that, so we can start here. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think food's just showing up in a lot of ways. It's filling a lot of holes for a lot of people. So it's looking at, like, if you're bored, it's certainly like filling the space of entertainment, of pleasure. excitement. It's like looking forward to it. So I think that's this part, and people are kind of really wrestling with looking at that, especially if you're an emotional eater. I mean, we're in this pandemic where our central nervous system is just shut down. And then we're met with, do this ab challenge and make this healthy meal. And it's like, no, I don't want to do any of that. But then and we're met with guilt. So it's really looking at, I think, some of that fear mongering that's there with like gaining the quarantine 15, 18, however many 18 pounds it's supposed to be. And just looking at just that compassion that food's going to be showing up in maybe the same ways that it has, but maybe just in a more intense way, or for people who were maybe not that much with emotional eating, that it's showing up because, again, it's filling a lot of holes. It's consistent for the most part. For most people, it's something that we can rely on, and that it can taste good. It can fill space. I've had a lot of clients where, especially most of like my mom clients that are now homeschooling and still working, or just managing now that your kids are at home all the time and there's no break. Like, it's also like the escape. I can have, 5 seconds of yummy chocolate chips and just dive into like, this is delicious, and it's a slight escape. It's just looking at how it's showing up.
Yeah, absolutely. Being mindful and present with that. And Reshaunda, what would you add to that? What are you experiencing with your clients in your own home?
Well, working with the clients and just even seeing all the different things, like Shannon says, that you're seeing on social media, it's a lot. And we're in uncharted territories right now. And so we can't plan out how we're going to respond in any situation. So when we don't know how to respond, out of fear, we implode, we stand still, we freeze, and we go to our comfort zones. And our comfort zone typically is that short-lived sensation of happiness. And that can be not necessarily food, but just the snacking and the amount of food we're bringing in. Being bombarded with having to adjust your schedule, from having a structured schedule, from going to work or whatever you do during the week, to now I have kids. I can't really get to the store the way I want to. I don't know how long I'm going to be in the situation. I'm struggling with my spouse, and all the different like pieces start to kind of play. And so we just kind of go back into our little hole and find what's most comfortable. I think that's where the food becomes one of our friends in the situation. But as we're having this relationship with our food in this way, I really don't think it's turning into something positive. I didn't hear about the quarantine 15. I'm not surprised that is a term. I went walking yesterday, and I'll make this quick, and I ran into an old client, and he was just, I was walking, and he was walking in Forest Park, and he was just distraught. And he has just said he had just gained 20 pounds over this epidemic. He's not handling it well. There's an emotional component to it. No, he does have a family, but he's struggling with just being isolated and not being motivated, being depressed, and just it feels like it's like a molehill. And so that just kind of gives you more insight of what people are struggling through. So as Shannon said, how are we going to be able to recreate our space and our mental perspective so we can start making healthier choices throughout that? Because right now, nutrition and our health is really our only weapon we have to kind of fight against this COVID-19 when it comes to building our immunity system. And just for our health, just besides the weight, just focus on our health first, because that's what we need right now.
Absolutely. And I have a question to follow up on that a little bit. You got me thinking. You're both talking, and you're both moms, and I'm a mom. And one of the things that I've noticed is my son, we're an autoimmune family, unfortunately. Each one of us, we're the lucky three that all three of us have something. So we have some dietary restrictions that we have to work around. We just try to eat anti-inflammatory as much as possible. And my son's 13, so he's already pushing back about that a little bit anyway, just the peer pressure and things. But what I've noticed is, as we've all been isolated together, he has become quite the dessert chef. And he's asking for things that he doesn't normally ask for, so sugar and wanting to make, sweet things a little bit more than usual, really spending a lot more time in the kitchen. And it's pretty cool to watch, actually, in a lot of ways, because he made creme brulee. I mean, he's doing these crazy, decadent looking things that prefer not to eat because for me, it's going to cause some issues. But yeah, it's been very interesting to watch his relationship to food change. What are you seeing with kids, and how do you talk to your kids about that?
Well, I'll start first. My kiddo's a lot older. He is 17. So it's not really, it's a different dynamic because honestly, I don't want to say he's been trained, but he's been in a culture where healthy eating is a part of his life. So when it comes to snack time, I'll have like a bag of chips up there, but I also make sure we have our fruit and I have things that he can snack on. So he has the ability to get a few things that's munchy, but he also is presented with some of the fresh and whole foods. And I almost say for me, he's not that into just going in the kitchen and getting all Chef 4Ds. More into, he's at an age he's ready to be on his computer or his phone dealing with his friends. But when it comes to the eating part, it really hasn't been much of a difference for us. He's been busy with schoolwork, and, yeah, he's pretty much eat whatever you put in front of him. So
I was happy to see there were berries on top of the creme brulee, but
Okay, that's right.
Yeah, so I have littles. I have 10, 8, 6, and 3. So they're very much like, it's something fun to do. And it's like space that we didn't have with work. So it's, they're asking to cook more with me or bake more. I would say food's probably holding more space because there is so much time. So it's like, I'm going to have a snack, or I want this, I want that. Are we going to have s'mores tonight? Like s'mores in the evening is like a good time killer and it's delicious. So, but it's looking at how much space it starts filling because it is the fun thing. Like they can't hang out with their friends. So it's even looking at the space that it's even bringing in for them, that this is the fun thing we get to do tonight and it's food, so it's, for me, it's just been the balancing, like, okay, you want that, but like, let's balance it out. But I do think there's a little bit more interest, like making a dessert every week, which we normally don't do. But they're having fun with it. I'm not like super mom of like, let's make this a math event. Like, I'm not doing that because everyone says they do that with homeschool. I'm like, just put the flour in or whatever. But, I do think that it's filling space in a different way.
Yeah, I love that perspective. I love that way of looking at it. And when he ends up on MasterChef Junior, I'm not going to be complaining.
Yes.
Good things will happen. We're getting some great comments over here in the group chat. Got one from Casey. She says, I find myself eating kid-centric food now instead of my usual salads now that I'm home with my kids and eating lunch with them every day. So that's interesting. What do you all have to say about that? That's a common thing. Comes up a lot.
Yeah, I think that there's some norm with that. I think it's just kind of looking at, like, I would just reflect, like, are you putting yourself in the equation? Are you taking good care of yourself and making sure that you're looking at, is that what you want? And if it's what you want, great. And are you in a place that you can just keep checking in with yourself or balancing? Could you throw in a salad with the chicken nuggets or whatever it is? Like, help to find that balance versus go into like a guilt place. But more just that, again, just that reflection of, are you inserting you in the equation as well?
Yeah, that's great, Shannon. And I would want to piggyback off of that. This is an opportunity. Don't look at this as a challenge, but this is an opportunity to try to modify some of those kid-centric foods when it comes to what they're snacking on, bringing in some other options that will also create more options for you as a parent, because this is our chance to just change the scenery of what it looks like inside of our house. And fortunately, we do have the ability to get all the foods that we need. So it's not like we're not at a famine right now. So I would say as a parent, you want to keep it family oriented because we were all in this together, and just creating any connection you can with your kids, and food and cooking is a big part of it. But as a parent, start swapping out their snacks right now. And so that they're bringing in healthier choices, they're learning to develop a healthier choices. And also you are bringing in the healthier choices as well. I think that would be like a great way for it to be accomplished on both ends.
Mm-hmm. Sounds like a great way to approach it and find more balance. We've got another question in here from Jessica. My whole meal times, or I guess more of a comment, but my whole meal times are thrown off, going to bed later, eating dinner earlier, etc. that's something that I've been dealing a lot with in my coaching practice. I am not a registered dietitian nutritionist. I am a health coach, but I, sit with my clients and just ask questions and try to help them come up with ways, help them to guide themselves to come up with ways to set better routines and really back into that routine, because that can make a big difference too, can't it?
Yeah. I mean, even for me, I'm not going to lie, like, because you're not having that same structure, my breakfast time and my lunch time is not like the way it used to be, so what I have to do is be more intentional. I mean, to a point to where, you want to keep your body in the same way that it's used to digesting, what it's digesting, the amount that it's digesting. So it just, once again, being a little bit more intentional and having a timer just in the beginning. This is all new for us, right? So when we first started any nutrition journey or health journey or exercise, we have like a schedule, right? To kind of get us into it to where it becomes eventually second nature. Same thing can be applied now. Breakfast, just have your breakfast, dinner, your lunchtime set up, and then throw your snacks in between. But just know that, try to create your own routine right now, even though you don't have your traditional routine, so it's just taking a little bit more effort, but just know this will end at some point, and you don't want to feel like you just lost everything that you had set up because, there was a shakeup. That'll be my opinion. And that's what I do with my schedule. Like, I have to like put up, like, this is when I'm going to eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner, because if not, time will just fly, and it's not easy. I get it.
Anymore. It's hard.
I get it. Yeah, it's not easy.
I have some of my clients, like, kind of the same thing. It's like inserting a timer, like, so looking at, like, it's normal to be hungry every 3 to 4 hours. So just to kind of keep that in mind, and to kind of look at too, I think a common thing that I've been seeing a lot is like the grazing, like lunch doesn't happen, but like lots of mini snacks happen. And so it's just kind of recognizing some of the setup that can happen with that. So setting, kind of just being aware of, like, okay, every 3 to 4 hours I'm hungry, but it's also looking at, like, do you feel like you can listen to hunger right now? Because again, our central nervous systems are pretty shut down, that those hunger cues, usually we're not hearing it till like maybe dinner, where it's like, I'm starving, you haven't fed me all day. So I think that's just a part to be aware of, that the relationship we have with our body and those cues of hunger and even fullness might be very different than what we normally experience.
I love that. I love that. Both great points. And especially, yes, just tapping into the fact that, our nervous systems are not in a normal state. So we're really not getting those signals the way that we used to. And another thing that we talk about, Dr. Twyman, the cardiologist that I coach with, he really talks about a book called The Circadian Code by Dr. Sachin Panda. It's a really great read if anyone wants to pick that up and check it out while you've got a little extra time and you're at home. But he talks about the importance of kind of maintaining your routine, because your gut really and your body are just ready and expecting food at certain times of day. So if things get a little thrown off, for people that are really sensitive like myself, it might really increase some of that inflammation, some of the issues that you're experiencing. So from that fun perspective.
Yeah.
We've got some great, somebody said it's the COVID-19 pounds over here.
Oh.
All right. Let's see. We've got my number 3 child, 9-year-old son, has gained and grown an inch. He's definitely asking for more sweets than norm. My 4-year-old has lost his hunger cues altogether. Also, we're mostly cooking at home. However, hashtag milkshakes, LOL, just saying. So, when we talk about a kiddo that's lost hunger cues, Shannon, do you have any insights on that?
Well, I think that's the part too of looking at, I look at my 3-year-old, she's not eating a whole lot. Like, it's just, they're out of their routine. They're just really thrown off, not stimulated as much. Like, I think those are parts of, I think, again, like, they're just little humans, So I think I'm really big with it. You just keep offering, it's not forcing. And even, I really kind of practice like the permission piece. So like, my kids want sweets more too, because we're tending to do more like movie nights or stuff like that. But it's just that neutralizing. It's trying to not make it that big of a deal, but also recognizing, like, we still have to balance out, like, we're still eating nutritiously through our day, but like, if we're going to have candy at night, like, we have to, like, are we balancing out with dinner? Like, if we're not going to have a bag of Sour Patch Kids if we didn't have anything for dinner, like, it's, that balance. So, but I also think it's also remembering the kick up in sweets is because it's fun. And it's remembering just what they're going through emotionally. Like they don't have the same fun anymore. So I think it's really important to recognize there's probably a huge link with that for them. And just, you know, if they're old enough to engage in the conversation about that, it's, you know, I'm always talking to my 10-year-old about that sort of thing, of the way we use food and how some people are, and, you know, just that emotional, like how hard it is that you're not around your friends and that you don't get to do the same things anymore. Just the acknowledgement of that is huge, because it might then even dissipate some of that I need it, but might be more of like, oh yeah, it does suck that I don't get to see my friends anymore. Like I think that's a big part of just that conversation and that emotional end.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
And when one thing, Shannon, what she said was really, that was a great point when you talked about the kids are not having the fun that they are usually having, whether with their friends, being outside or going places. And so I feel like the sweet, the one in the sweet kind of start to fill in that void, because it's fun. And even as, you know, it's a component where you want to allow your children to kind of still have a feeling of fun, and sometimes through food, but at the same time, we want to be sure not to associate fun with sweets and, you know, whatever with food, you know, fun with the sweets, because they can develop that connection of, all the way single time I have something super sweet, that's my equivalence of fun. So whenever I want to have fun, I'm in the back of my head, I'm going to connect that. And that, I think as adults, we have an association with foods. You know, let's say it's a reason why brownies is your favorite dessert, or apple pie. It could be because your grandmother made it when you were younger, or when you played sports and everyone went and had brownies for winning. It's a way that we unconsciously are connected to certain foods. And for our kiddos right now, this is kind of a budding moment where they can start developing some of those associations. And we just want to make sure, like, you know, you neutralize it, you balance it to where this is not a strong connection as they get older. So when Sour Patch Kids was a thing during COVID-19, when they're 19 and 20 and 25, they're not going to think, oh my God, I got to have those Sour Patch.
Right.
You know, it's all an unconscious thought process. So as parents, we can kind of help our children not to develop some of those things that we probably have acquired over our years.
Yeah,
Absolutely. I can definitely relate to the personal level. I discovered a couple years ago that I would go through these periods of stress when I did, especially as I started my radio show and I started getting myself out there. I was very nervous every week about being in front of people. And I had this interesting thing going on where I would go home and I would be craving, and now, by the way, I have celiac. I know now, but when I was a kid, didn't know that, of course. But you know, biting into a big piece of bread, like thick, crusty bread with like a huge chunk of butter on top, the kind where you put teeth marks in it, right? Like that kind of butter.
Yes.
This is what I wanted in my life, in the worst way. And so I would take my gluten-free bread, which was not as satisfying with my chunk of butter. And then I started thinking, man, what is happening? Because I really don't really eat dairy. I don't really eat bread. And I realized that, you know, when I used to get picked on in school, I would ride the bus home to my grandma's house and she would always make me butter bread and we would sit down with some tea and talk about it. And so it was interesting how, as I was putting myself out, you know, that kind of came up. So I love what you said there. I think it's so true. People are going to develop those associations and it's going to carry with them through their lives. So we just need to be present and mindful with what we're experiencing. We're experiencing cravings. That's so poignant. All right, we've got a lot of great comments coming in here and we're getting down to the end as far as time is concerned. So any advice on how to reconnect to those hunger cues that are often associated with our schedules?
I would personally say there is a component to where, you know, where this hormone stress, this life can offset how our body responds to just hunger. Or you know, when I get upset, I don't eat more, I eat less, you know, my appetite decreases. So, but we also are in control of just the way our body, we can control how our body can cycle and function and metabolize and digest by just, once again, that schedule component is what's going to allow us to still feed our body. So it's responsive to the food we're bringing in. Even if we're not feeling hungry, get into the pattern of just bringing something in throughout the day will allow our body to at least physiologically be able to maintain its normal system. And like I say, it's important to listen to your body, but if we're in a moment right now where our body is not telling us we're hungry, our body still needs the nutrients. We still need the water. We still need the water. We still need all those components. So still trying to implant it even a little bit to even maybe get the hunger signals, rearing, better than just not eating, because then then it just goes backwards and your body acclimates to not eating as much, and we're back down that road again.
Well, perhaps checking in with some breathing. We can't be in the parasympathetic and the sympathetic response at the same time. It's kind of a light switch situation. So if we can stop and do some self-care, really calm down, do some breathing, and maybe would that help us then, I would assume, to start getting some of those signals back?
Yeah, I think that sort of thing can help ground it. But I think that's, I think Reshaunda hit it perfectly. Like if I look at the extreme of, like, if I see someone who's been struggling with anorexia, they're not hungry, but like you still need to eat regardless of whether you feel that hunger or not. So when we look at when we're in that shut off or fight flight response, it's the schedule helps it helps our metabolism keep going. And eventually when we're calmed, we might feel that a little bit more, but the schedule really does help.
Stick to the schedule. Love it. All right. We've got another question over here. So my food selections have changed a lot. I go from feeling very full to shortly after feeling famished, wondering if that's some kind of carb effect, they said.
Carb effect?
I am reading from the box, ladies.
Okay. Well, it could be looking at like what the balance is. I mean, if you
you got to know what it is.
Yeah, like if it's all carbohydrate, that is a common feeling that you just spiked your sugars and then you're dropping and then you're hungry again. So that's the importance of balancing out with making sure you have protein and fats present.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. All right. Well, you know what? It has been fantastic having you all on. Thank you so much for joining us. We are at time, so I'm just going to start wrapping up here. Did we ever find Casey? Casey, where are you? Oh, here you are. I'm going to unmute you and bring you on, Casey. Hope you're ready for that. There you are. Hello.
I'm here. I was just late,
you're
working with
good.
kids on their projects, and it's, of course, the last day. Things can get turned in. Yeah.
Oh, big day, big day. Well, you had a comment here in the box, and actually I was going to ask you what you're taking away from this talk today, so maybe it'd be a great time to share what you're thinking.
I just love these two women, and Amanda too. I love you too. But Reshaunda knows me a little too well. She has been she was my nutrition mentor. I'm not even going to call her a dietitian because I kept going to her and saying, I want a diet. Tell me what to eat. And she wouldn't do it. She kept telling me about food and what it does for me and how my body digests. And I learned so much from her. And from Shannon, your workshops, I've learned so much about mindful eating and being present and just listening to myself. And so today was a great reminder of both of those things, because from the start have been on this roller coaster of give me a diet. I want control. I want something that I can manipulate, and I need structure, to all the way to the other end of I'm going to eat mindlessly and you can't stop me. Thanks to both of you, I've been so much more mindful of that pattern. I've caught it, and I'm bringing in mindful eating into every moment of my day. So that's what I got from today, more of what I've gotten from them in the past. So thank you both.
No, thanks. Good to hear from you, Casey.
And Shannon and Reshaunda, I'd love if you'd share for everyone how they can follow you or get in touch.
Yeah.
Go ahead,
Shannon. No, you go ahead.
Okay. So my website is Hayes, Hayes nutrition.com. And I'm on Facebook under Hayes Nutrition, or on Instagram at Shannon Buescher, which is Buescher.
And you can find me. You can find me on all the social media handles. Facebook is Reshaunda A Better Vessel. Instagram, Reshaunda _ Better Vessel. Twitter, Better Vessel. Better Vessel, BetterVessel. You can also go to my website, just learn more about me. see the TED Talk, see some of the other services I provide at ReshaundaThornton.com. And last but not least, I'm not sure if you know Amanda, but this would be a great opportunity for your listeners. I actually have a podcast show, and it's called The Dietitian Against Diets. And it's all about these conversations. It's all about these conversations to help us to rearrange the way we interact with food and not use it as a tool. So I have several guests that I bring on that brings their why reason I think that we all can relate to. And this last of these, considering this COVID series right now, I have an ongoing panel called a Weekly Wellness Coalition panel, where each week I have 3 guests, and there's different topics that we talk about, and just from their expertise. Like we talked about mental emotional health one. We talked about, food security in students. We just talked about physical fitness and the importance. So if you go to my website or go to my Facebook page, you'll see some of those different panels. But feel free to subscribe to the podcast show. It's virtual, video, and it's audio, so you can see it across all different platforms. So.
Awesome. Well, thanks again so much, both of you, for joining us. Really appreciate it. And Casey, who have we got up next week?
Next week we have Sandra Miller, who is certified mindfulness-based cognitive therapist. She's going to talk to us about healthy thinking during this COVID quarantine.
Awesome. Yeah, I thought detox would be a good thing right about now for many women.
Absolutely.
Included. Yeah, always a good thing. All right, great. Well, thank you so much for everyone for joining us. I want to give another shout out and a thank you to Jessica, Casey, and Kate for helping organize this and pull it all together. I can't wait to see you next week. I'm going to go host Get Real to Heal on 92.9 now. You can check that out on soundcloud.com/getrealtoheal. We're going to talk about dreams today, you guys. I've been having some crazy dreams during quarantine, and I'm going to dig in and find out why with Laurel Clark. Everyone have a great day.